I want to think about the question of character. Character. And just to get us thinking, I happened to read yesterday this wonderful article by David Brooks in the New York Times. And instead of me summarising or paraphrasing, I'm just going to read the opening 2 or 3 paragraphs. Just let him speak for himself. So just to enjoy listening to this, because he puts it much better than I can. So David Brooks writes, "About once a month I run across a person who radiates an inner light. These people can be in any walk of life. They seem deeply good. They listen well. They make you feel funny and valued. You often catch them looking after other people, and as they do so, their laugh is musical and their manner is infused with gratitude. They are not thinking about what wonderful work they are doing. They are not thinking about themselves at all. When I meet, when I meet such a person, it brightens my whole day. But I confess I often have a sadder thought. It occurs to me that I've achieved a decent level of career success, but I have not achieved this. I have not achieved that generosity of spirit or that depth of character. It occurred to me that there were 2 sets of virtues, the resume virtues and the eulogy virtues. The resume virtues, I guess in the UK we'd call them the CV virtues, are the skills you bring to the marketplace. The eulogy virtues are the ones that are talked about at your funeral. Whether you were kind, brave, honest or faithful. Were you capable of deep love? We all know that the eulogy virtues are more important than the resume ones. But our culture and our educational systems spend more time teaching the skills and strategies you need for career success than the qualities you need to radiate that sort of inner light. Many of us are clearer on how to build an external career than on how to build inner character. But, he continues, if you live for external achievement, years pass, and the deepest parts of you go unexplored and unstructured. You lack a moral vocabulary. It is easy to slip into a self-satisfied moral mediocrity. You grade yourself on a forgiving curve. You figure, as long as you are not obviously hurting anybody and people seem to like you, you must be okay. But you live with an unconscious boredom, separated from the deepest meaning of life and the highest moral joys. Gradually, a humiliating gap opens between your actual self and your desired self, between you and those incandescent souls you sometimes meet. Beautiful, isn't it? And isn't it interesting and thought-provoking? Because this is the question, as I said at the beginning, of character. Now look, character in this deep sense doesn't just mean your personality. Are you introvert or extrovert? Are you funny or serious? Are you laid back or ordered? Character is deeper. It is the person you are and the person you are becoming. It's how you live, how you love, how you choose, what you value, and ultimately what you would die for. You can see how it's more than just personality traits. So this is the first thought for today, that instead of asking, what have I done with my week, my year, my life, it's far more important to ask, who have I become? Who have I become? My character, the person I've become, matters far more than my external achievements, however important and urgent they may be. And you can see partly why I'm saying this in the middle of exam period. Because all the pressure of this week, and in fact all the pressure of your upbringing and the last 15 years of your education, is often not to think about character, but just about resume, CV and external achievements. They're important, but they're not enough. And of course, everything I've said up to now is not particularly Christian. In fact, everything that needs to be said about character was said by Aristotle centuries before Christ. And to be honest, not much has been added to Aristotle since then. But the second thought goes further. Is there a Christian character? And this brings us to the Gospel, which is that passage from St. John, from the Last Supper, when Jesus shares with his closest disciples his deepest concerns for them and for us. Part of me, just like with the first article, doesn't want to preach about it. I just want to read it again, slowly, and again and again. Just listen to some of these key lines from the Gospel in the light of what I've said about character. Is there a Christian character? Is there a way of living and loving? And if so, what is it? What kind of person is Jesus inviting us to become? I'm just quoting from the Gospel now. Remain in my love. I have told you this so that my own joy may be in you and your joy be complete. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. A man can have no greater love than to lay down his life for his friends. I call you friends because I have made known to you everything I learnt from my Father. I commissioned you to go out and to bear fruit. This is part of Christian character. Something much richer than even the wisest of philosophers, Aristotle, couldn't grasp. And to say that there's a Christian character, which we've heard about in the Gospel, doesn't mean we're all clones, Christian zombies, identikit personalities, each of us walking around in the same way, with the same words, in the same actions. No, but within our different personalities, and even within our different characters, in the Aristotelian sense, there is a depth, a quality, a set of values and virtues expressing themselves in different ways, but something in common about us as Christians, that guides us, that helps us to be the people we are made to be, the people we long to be. And we've heard what these virtues are. Love, joy, friendship, friendship with the Lord and with each other and with all. Sacrifice. Not a word explicitly used in today's Gospel, but Jesus speaking very explicitly about how we must be prepared to lay down our lives in sacrifice for our friends, for our neighbour, for the stranger, even for our enemy. So you can list virtues, can't you? And it sounds very beautiful and very abstract. But this is not just an abstraction. Think of you, your life. Think of how you walk into a situation. a place, a hall of residence, a classroom, an office, a dining hall, a kitchen, how you walked into the church this evening, how you might walk into the dining room afterwards for some tea and coffee and cake. Your job, your college, your home, wherever. And think of the voices in your head when you are walking into the room. Imagine that these voices came up as subtitles for everyone to see. Yes, you don't have to admit to these voices, but just in the privacy of your own heart, think, have you ever had these voices? These voices that say, as you walk into the room, what will they think of me? How do I look? How do I sound? What shall I say? Am I funny enough? Am I witty enough? Am I intelligent enough? Am I beautiful enough? Am I interesting? Did I say something stupid? Will they like me? Do they hate me? I better stop now, otherwise we could go on all evening, yes? Now these voices, I won't ask for a show of hands, this is normal stuff, isn't it, for us? When we meet people, when we're in new situations, we are all a little bit paranoid. We're all a little bit broken. But do you notice, it's all me, me, me. How am I doing? How am I seeming? Think of how completely different your life would be if when you walked into that room or that new situation, you weren't thinking about yourself. Can you imagine it? Not to be thinking about yourself. That when you walk into that situation, that your motivation would be completely different. It would be to love, to be joyful, to offer friendship, to serve, to sacrifice. All that we've heard in the gospel. And instead of the voices saying, do they like me? To walk into a room thinking, how can I like them? Instead of thinking when you walk into a college or a hall of residence, where are my friends? So I can find them and hide in a little bubble with them. Instead, to walk into a room and think, who here needs my friendship? Instead of thinking wonderfully or paranoidly, whichever one you go for normally, instead of thinking, am I beautiful, am I clever, am I fun, walking into that room thinking, how can I find beauty in the others I meet? How can I find intelligence, wisdom, joy, insight, friendship in the people that I'm going to meet? And if, when you do manage to stop thinking about yourself and become concerned for the other, then the paradoxical effect of this is that you become someone incredibly beautiful and attractive and interesting. You become your true character, because the person you are, instead of obsessing about yourself, which covers it up, can just shine. You're there, you're loving, you're joyful. You're not trying to be yourself for others. You just are yourself for others. There is a luminosity about you. The more transparent you become, this is something David Brooks was saying, the more incandescent and luminous your true being, your true personality becomes. And I would even add, the more that God's holiness can shine through you. So if you want to be attractive to others, stop thinking about how attractive you are. If you really want to shine, stop trying to shine. You can be yourself by not trying to be anyone else. This is an echo of another gospel passage, isn't it? Anyone who wants to save his life will lose it, but anyone who loses his life for my sake and the sake of the gospel, and we can add for the sake of others, that person will find it, will find life. And of course, this is the life and the example of Jesus himself, where his beauty and his goodness shine most of all in his self-abandonment and ultimately in his self-sacrifice on the cross. So this is the final thought about character. That Jesus doesn't just teach us how to live, he invites us into his own living, to share in his own life, his own character, which is the life he shares with the Father and the Holy Spirit. As Christians, we don't just have a teacher or a prophet or a leader. We have someone who shows us the heart of God and invites us into that heart, invites us into the eternity of God's divine love. We share, we hope to share, in the very character of God. Jesus doesn't stand on the sidelines telling us how to love. He shows us the deepest meaning of that love and calls us to share that love with others. He invites us into friendship with him and with each other, so that we can live this friendship with all that we meet.